Welcome back, all you Ice GT gamers. This is Ice GT coming to you live once again from Southern California. In today's Anthem video, we're going to be going over some highlights of today's live stream regarding loot and progression, and touching briefly on today's IGN exclusive Legion of Dawn trailer. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Today's loot and progression live stream had a number of aspects to it, but I'd like to start off on the gear score. This is a similar system to Destiny and other looter shooters where you have a certain level of power, which gives the player a general sense of how strong their character is based on the strength of their gear and the rarity of each item. This gear score is calculated by adding up the power levels of both weapon slots, the shoulder and wrist gear slots, your support gear, and up to 6 of a new type of equipment called components. Now, components were introduced as a direct result of community feedback and how the live streams were accepted by the community. Your Javelin can equip up to 6 components and are really how you customize your build and get your Javelin set up to the way that you want to be able to play, your distinct playstyle. One particular example that they gave was of a Ranger that had all 6 slots filled out, 4 with components that were at the highest rarity level, and 2 that were slightly lower than that. Each of these perks, when combined, allowed him to play his Javelin such that it was focused on hover gameplay, reducing cooldowns while hovering, getting bonus damage when getting multi-kills and using the weapons in a particular sequence to get kills. And although it was a little buggy in the gameplay section, he showed off how really powerful this synergy and stacking of bonuses could really be to your build. It was asked during the stream in the chat whether or not these stacking bonuses could potentially make your character overpowered. This was addressed by saying that the more advanced difficulty levels that are available to you are going to be a requirement to stack your equipment in such a way that in another game would be unbalanced. Which brings me to the difficulty levels. They mentioned that there are going to be 3 difficulty levels that are available at launch, those being Lancer, Freelancer, and Master. Those are the ones we've already heard about in previous streams. But there are 3 new difficulty levels that are even higher than that, likely not going to be available until you finish the entire main storyline, what is called the Critical Path, and these are called the Grandmaster difficulty levels. Specifically, Grandmaster 1, 2, and 3. Now, these difficulty levels are specifically designed for the hardcore people who want to have the highest chance of getting the highest rarity items to drop in your endgame content such as strongholds. Let's move on to the gear itself. All of the gear is level gated, such that at launch, level 1, you will only have a single weapon slot, a shoulder slot, and a wrist slot that's available to you, and you'll gradually unlock additional gear slots as your pilot levels up. They mentioned specifically that you get your second weapon slot available to you when your pilot hits level 4. The gear that is going to be dropping for you at those low levels has an extremely high likelihood to be at the lowest rarity level, called Common, and scales upward as you progress throughout the game, such that once you've hit level 20, the chances of a higher rarity item dropping are significantly higher than that of level 1. The gear rarity levels themselves do appear to have been set in stone at this point, and they are Common, Uncommon, Rare, Epic, Masterwork, and Legendary. We got to see some more specifics about what the differences in the rarity are going to be. All gear that is above the Common rarity is going to have a percentage-based perk attached to it, although the stats for the perks within the stream were bugged out in the build that they were using and they were all showing 0%, but they assured us that these are going to be working at launch. An uncommon piece of gear is going to have 1 perk, a rare is going to have 2, an epic is going to have 3, and things get really interesting once you get to the last 2 rarity levels. The Masterwork rarity level is going to have 4 randomly rolled perks and a unique ability to that item. The unique abilities are tied to that specific item, so if you get a drop of that exact same item or craft another of that same item, it is going to have that same unique ability. The legendary rarity beyond that are going to have, again, 4 randomly rolled perks, but they said that it's going to be from a larger pool of available perks, and that the stat ranges of the percentages are going to be higher possibilities. If you get a masterwork version of one item and a legendary version of the same item, they will both have the same unique ability, as the unique ability is tied to the specific item. Now, the individual perks themselves cannot be re-rolled, at least at launch. So you'll either have to get another drop of the same item or have a crafting blueprint so that you can craft another version of that same piece of equipment. This has already sparked a series of discussions on the community Reddit page, but fortunately Ben Irving has already responded and saying that they will be looking at player behavior at launch and are open to adding a stat reroll feature in the future. Speaking of blueprints, they said that you'll always be crafting an item at your current pilot level, so there's no need to get more than one blueprint of the same item, as when you craft the item at level 20, it'll produce a level 20 version of that item, and if you craft that same blueprint at level 30, it'll produce a level 30 version of that item. Now unfortunately, you won't be able to upgrade the blueprints, such that if you have a rare blueprint, you will never be able to upgrade it into a masterwork version of that same blueprint. You'll have to go out and get a new masterwork version of the blueprint. Moving on is the IGN exclusive Legion of Dawn trailer that was just released today. I'll put the link to the full trailer in the description down below if you want to check it out. But the highlights are that it contains a little bit of never-before-seen lore for the Legion of Dawn, and it's our first look at the legendary weapon that's going to come with the Legion of Dawn pre-order, which is called Light of the Legion. It appears to be an assault rifle of some kind, and given what we know about legendary gear from today's stream, is going to have those 4 randomly rolled perks and a unique ability tied to this item. Now, unfortunately, it's likely that this item is going to be scaled to a level 10 or possibly even lower than that weapon that'll quickly be outpaced by other gear, but for you completionists out there, it is going to be essential to pre-order the Legion of Dawn edition, as you will not be able to pick up this Light of the Legion assault rifle through questing or grinding in the game. Tweets that we've seen previously regarding progression suggest that you'll be able to hit level 5 and unlock your second javelin slot within the first few hours of gameplay, possibly in as few as 1 hour. So it's likely that your Light of the Legion gun is only going to be valuable to you for maybe the first 5 or 6 hours of gameplay, but I gotta admit, the weapon looks pretty sweet. That's going to about wrap it up for today's video. If you like this content and you want to see more of it on my channel, feel free to like to my channel and subscribe down below. If you dislike the content, feel free to leave a dislike. As always, I appreciate comments, positive or negative. And as always, this is IceGT signing off. Have a great night.